Hi there, welcome to 2 Minute Watches. Today we've got the SPB513, the SEIKO Speedtimer. This is the cream dial variant, cream or champagne you could say. Just playing around the light there. It's got a bit more of that metallic sheen, so I have to give it the champagne. There is also the black dial variant too. This one probably is a bit more versatile for me because of its contrasting colours, which allow it to seem perhaps a bit more champagne and dressy as champagne dial watches tend to look. But also, if you see the mix of colours, both the black and the orange, that gives it the kind of sporty aesthetic also. So you've got a range of colours there, but also a range of textures. And I think this is what really struck me when I saw the stock photography and confirmed when I saw it in person, is the range of different levels, giving it very much a 3D effect. This primarily comes from the raised indices. You see they're quite polished quite well. Obviously, you'd hesitate to say Grand Seiko level, but it is very impressive. Having gone to Japan and saw a lot of different more entry to mid-range Seiko models, this definitely does look good. Along with the hands themselves, you can see Dauphin style hands, again executed wonderfully with the loom, and the second hand of the orange tip as well, just making it quite a complete package. Also got a applied Seiko logo, which is also always nice to see, with the printed text, and that just gives it again that variety, and that I guess keeps it looking interesting, which is always I think always appreciated given the amount of models that Seiko really pump out each year. So you've got a second crown there alongside the date window, which is circular at the 430 mark. The internal bezel is pretty cool. You don't need to have it screw down to access it, so it can work quite quickly. I've seen it before in other models like the Yema, where you have to screw it down first before moving it, which does really slow it down. So on this works it quite conveniently. No signed crown there. That is kind of in line with the other Prospex models where they've taken vintage inspiration. I think they never really signed the crown before and they've kept it like that. I mean, I would have liked it, but it's not a deal breaker for me. Moving on to the bracelet in particular, which I thought was another reason why I really wanted to pick this up, because it is so interesting. You've got almost like a Jubilee style bracelet. It's not quite 5-link because it's you've got one long horizontal brushed link, which is integrated with two polished smaller links, which just gives it a bit, I can't quite describe it, I guess it does feel a bit vintage and retro, but definitely puts it apart all the other oyster style bracelets you get. And then if not an oyster style, you'd get a Jubilee style. So this does definitely make it more interesting. The inner clasp is milled, not stamped, so that's always good. It does feel much more robust than the usual. The outer clasp itself, pretty much the same, but I think that was never the problem for me in terms of the bracelet. It was always at some points the inner clasp, and mostly the links, the individual links themselves, but they are of either much superior quality than what I've seen before at this price range, which is around £850 in the UK. I think it's going for 1,000 euros. So I think actually weirdly, well, not weirdly, but rarely the the UK sterling price hasn't been too kind of unfairly unfairly rated, maybe, or pegged is the right word, at the exchange rate of their choosing. Anyway, yeah, so overall really good package. Inside you've got the 6R55 movement, which gives it the 3 days power reserve, as you can have in there. That is divisive in having the 3 days next to the automatic. Sometimes they put the 72 hours. I think people preferred it when it just said automatic. The 3 days, especially having it written in like an Arabic numeral, gives it a bit of asymmetry around the text. Doesn't bother me hugely, but I can see why people don't like the change and they may revert it. I've seen them add it into the newer King Seiko models, and I think they've taken it away as well in the even newer ones. But the 6R55, from what I've seen, definitely an improvement on the previous 6R35, much maligned, rather misaligned, but I guess also potentially misaligned. I had in my SPB453 the reinterpretation. I think I was losing about 40 seconds a day sometimes, depending on how I wore it on the wrist, which is quite problematic if you wear it a few days straight. But fortunately, this one I think is -7, which is much preferable. I haven't tried it in different wearing conditions yet, and that's one of the reasons when I sent it back to SEIKO, they just put it on a time grapher and I think it was fine, but it definitely does something weird when you wear it naturally on the wrist. So I think that stability is something that they've worked on with the new 6R55 movement. So long may that continue, because I think that was a shame, because I think that was one of the reasons why people were criticizing a lot of the mid-range models. Not least because there's probably quite a lot of variety of, well, quite a big range in the price of what they put the 6R movement in, down from their, I think some of the Alpinist models that are running for about as low as 450 maybe on the kind of grey market, all the way up to the ones that are 850 here and up to 1,100 for some of those Prospex divers. So hopefully with SEIKO getting that together on the 6R movements, that will help it and will give it more credibility back in that mid-range of the market, which is very crowded. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the Diashield coating, which is like their proprietary coating that SEIKO put on some of their models. Gives it a bit of a darker grey sheen, but does make it a lot more scratch resistant. I think if I can get my SPB453 out, you'll see that I think it really helps stand the test of time. And just popping a wrist shot here. Here it is on my 6.25 inch wrist. So you can see that even on really small wrists, it does taper around really well. This is all down to the 44mm lugs to lugs. Quite stubby, as you can see. Not a lot of overhang above and below the dial. So although the dial itself is 39.5, the bezel does make it wear a bit chunkier, because usually the glass doesn't extend as far as the bezel, but because it's the bezel's internal and under the crystal, it does wear a bit larger. But again, because of the this is mitigated by the lug shape, kind of curved, stubby, which allows it to wrap around a slim wrist really well. So I think in terms of wearability, they're very, very versatile, both for smaller wrists because of the short lug to lug, but also for those with larger wrists, I think because of the way the crystal wraps over the inner bezel at 39.5, it should have enough presence for even chunkier wrists too. And a brief look at the Diashield coating on the SPB453. I've had this since 2020, I say 2021, which makes it about 4 years old. And I mean, considering that's the outer clasp, that isn't too bad. That isn't too bad at all, I think, for the clasp, which usually takes the most damage. And then on the other links, can't see there's a little bit, not loads though. So I think that would really help to maintain the appearance of the SEIKO SPB513 for a while, and given that it's got the lot of brushedness on the around the case, I think that will stand it in good stead. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Do let me know what you think of this one. What have you been thinking of getting it? Do you think this is something that interests you? Do let me know, and do like and subscribe if you like the videos. Thanks so much.